Hey everyone, SunTide here. Hope you all are doing great. So this morning, Title Update 1 came out for Monster Hunter Wilds, and with it new monsters, new weapons, new armor, and new skills that can help improve our damage. The most interesting skill I found in this game so far seems to be WHITEFLAME TORRENT, which you get from the ZOH SHIA weapons. It's a weapon skill that, if you be paying close attention to the screen right now, intermittently does a nice burst of 50 damage. Now 50 damage is a lot. If you compare it to my stabs right now, where I'm only doing 20 damage per hit, having a nice 50 damage burst is very, very nice. But the question is, how frequently can I get it, and is it actually worth it compared to other skills? Now if you've been paying close attention to the screen, you might notice the frequency of the procs are pretty interesting. See, the procs seem to only ever happen between every 4th hit, every 8th hit, or every 12th hit I do. And it seems to be completely random which one it is. This is very different to other weapons to other skills in Monster Hunter, where oftentimes these random procs get less and less frequent as the hunts go on. If you compare this to, say, status, for example, every status you do, every time you want to poison the monster, it gets harder each and every time. Here it seems to be consistent and random. It's always either 4, 8, or 12. Now if you pay extra close attention, you might notice something else interesting, and that's what happens when I go to green sharpness. See, when I go to green sharpness, my attacks go ever so slightly faster, that's one thing, and the second thing is that instead of taking 4 hits, or 8 hits, or 12 hits, it now takes 5, 10, or 15 hits to get the proc off. Which is pretty interesting, which means something weird is happening. The other thing you might notice is I don't need to always attack the monster. I can wait a bit and I can attack the monster, and I get it in the first hit. I can wait a bit, I can attack the monster, and let's see if it happens. Nope, it didn't happen this time. Let's wait again. Let's go. And I got it in 2 hits this time. So there's some weird thing that's going on between time and the amount of hits. So, I tested out a lot, and I think I have a pretty good idea of how it actually works, by looking at the time it takes to get the props and how many attacks I need to take the props. Okay, so after all my testing, this is my best idea for how this skill works. Basically, every time I get a proc, the game rolls the dice again and gets a number between 1 and 3 inclusive. So 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3 hits we need to do to activate the skill. However, we can't just attack the monster 3 times in a row. We need to wait about 3 seconds between every single hit before we're able to get rid of one of these checks. So right now I've been waiting for more than 3 seconds. So if I attack the monster now, I had a 1 in 3 chance of the proc going off. Now it's gone, so now we might either have 1 check or 2 checks left. Let's attack it again. It didn't activate. So now we have 1 check left, and now my next hit, for certain, will activate the proc. That would have been very embarrassing if it didn't work. So it seems to be, we remove these checks by attacking every 3 seconds or so. We can attack in between them, but the check only becomes active every 3 seconds. And after we get rid of 1, 2, or 3 checks, we can get the attack off. So yep, that time it had only 1 check available, so we got it on the first hit. And once the checks are removed, we deal a nice burst of damage. The check seems to become active every 3 seconds, I want to say. Maybe it's 2.5 seconds. But every 2.5 or 3 seconds, we activate a check. So let's attack that now. Nope, we got rid of 1 check, so now there's either 1 or 2 remaining. Let's attack it. Nope, that one didn't work either, so lost check, and this one will get the proc off. Sweet. And that seems to be how this skill works. Now, the skill has some really interesting interactions with other skills though, specifically Scorcher. So Scorcher actually works very similar. So Scorcher is the set bonus you get from the Rathalos pieces. And I did some testing, and this seems to be how much damage Scorcher and WHITEFLAME Torrent do together. So Scorcher alone deals damage as if you had 400 fire, and this increases damage depending on fire attack. So if you have fire attack on your weapon, it does more damage, but without fire attack, it has 400 fire, which means it deals around 8 damage total per hit. It's not very much, but it's nice. You can somehow get Scorcher 2, which needs 4 Rathalos pieces. It deals damage every now and then, as if you had 1000 fire, which is quite a bit better, but a lot more difficult to fit in, and that's around 20 damage worth. This skill, WHITEFLAME Torrent, gives you 50 damage, but the damage increases if you have Scorcher. So if I equip 2 pieces of Scorcher, I deal damage as about 60 true damage and 300 fire, which is usually worth around 66 damage, and with Scorcher 2, that's 80 true damage and 800 fire. Let me equip that quickly and I'll show you that. So right now I have 4 Rathalos pieces, and now if I hit the monster, I'll do a much larger burst of damage. Nope, that didn't work, so I have 2 more checks. I have up to 2 more checks remaining. Let's check it again. Okay, I have 1 last check remaining, and this one will do 92 damage. Depending on the monster's elemental hit zone values. This monster is right now on the hard hit zone value. If I change it to soft, it should do a bit more than what we saw. I think it should be doing 104 damage if I get a proc off. That's 1 check gone. That's 2 checks gone, and the 3rd check will be 104 damage. So yeah, the skill is very consistent if you have an idea of how it actually works. What's worth mentioning is it only seems to work on certain attacks. This has actually been data mined in the game before, so only normal attacks seem to activate skills like Scorcher or WHITEFLAME TORRENT. Weird attacks, things like my Spirit Helmbreaker as a longsword, will not activate this skill. So it depends on your weapon, but quite a few of your attacks should be able to activate this skill. Okay, so let's get an idea of how good this skill is compared to other skills. Is it actually worth fitting in your build? So we've said that the check can only be removed every 2.5 or 3 seconds, right? But you aren't going to get rid of the skill instantly. You aren't attacking the monster every single frame. You have time between every single attack. Let's say you can get rid of a check every 5 seconds or so. So 3 seconds for the cooldown and your 2 seconds on average to do something else. That means on average we're doing about 50 damage every 10 seconds with the skill, saying on average it has 2 checks, okay? Now say it takes us, on the other hand, about 5 minutes to get rid of a monster with 20,000 HP. I think this is reasonably fast and a reasonably normal amount of HP. And let's compare the DPS. This means that our overall damage per second is going to be something like 20,000 damage over 300 seconds, or around 66 damage per second. If you compare this to WHITEFLAME, so let's say it takes us 5 minutes to take down a monster with 20,000 HP. I think this is how much it takes for a normal player to defeat a monster. You know, if you're a speedrunner, you'll do it way faster, but if you're like me, I think this is a decent/slightly fast estimate. Now in this case, your average damage per second is going to be something like 20,000 damage over 300 seconds, or around 66 DPS. On the other hand, if you have the skill, WHITEFLAME TORRENT, your damage per second improvement is going to be something like your 50 damage you do around every 10 seconds or so 5 DPS. This means that your overall improvement is going to be something like 66 plus 5 on 66, or 7.6% damage improvement. This is pretty solid. If you compare this to something like a 3-slot decoration, so for example, dropping from attack boost 5 and crit boost 3 to crit boost 5, or dropping from crit boost 5 to crit boost 3, you lose something like 4% damage. So if you instead gain 7.5% damage in exchange, that makes it pretty worth it, you know? Now let's compare this with stuff like Scorcher. So Scorcher alone is, by the same calculation, dealing about 1.2% extra damage. With Scorcher 2, that's 3%, which is a bit better, but neither really that good. WHITEFLAME TORRENT, though, that's 7.6% damage alone. With Scorcher 1, that goes up to 10%, and with Scorcher 2, that's 15%, which is massive. To be fair, it's a bit hard to fit Scorcher 2. You'll need 4 Rathalos pieces, so you'll miss out on a lot of other things, stuff like the Goramaga set bonus, for example. However, it is alone a very nice set bonus. And compared to... And if you compare the weapon to the Artian weapons, I don't know if there's a decoration yet, but if you compare to the Artian weapons, we're going to lose effectively a 3-slot decoration, and we'll lose effectively 5 raw and a choice of element, so we can only ever use a dragon, and our dragon value is going to go down slightly. But even then, this does seem worth it for a 7.6% damage increase. I still need to do the math on how much it's worth it compared to other skills, but my gut feeling is it should very well be meta for normal players. Maybe not for speedrunners, but for normal players. So, summary and conclusions. This skill seems to work on a sort of combined timer and counter or check system. 3 checks, and you can only get rid of 1 check every 2.5 or 3 seconds, and you get rid of a check by attacking the monster. When it activates, you get a really nice damage bonus, 50 true damage, very big. Seems to be around a 15% damage bonus, I want to say, for normal players, less if you are a speedrunning god. But because of that, I think it could very well be meta for standard gameplay. Now with that, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. I'd like to thank my Patreon supporters, especially Hunter Finney, who's in my highest supporter tier, and all of you watching as well. Hopefully by the end of the weekend, I will have full builds, assessing the quality of this skill compared to other skills, but for now, I think it's good. I think it's really good. Until next time, see you. Take care. Bye.